My name is Lisa Martinez, and this is the story of how my mother-in-law's dream vacation turned into her personal nightmare. It turns out, the people you look down on might be the ones holding all the cards. I met David Anderson during a late shift at the coffee shop, where I worked while earning my master's in business. Unlike the usual high-powered types who treated me like part of the decor, David was different, genuine, grounded, and never once made me feel small for wearing an apron. Falling in love with him felt like stumbling into a modern-day fairy tale. But every fairy tale has a villain, and mine wore pearls and a permanent scowl. Ilana Anderson. Ilana wasn't just rich, she was legacy rich. Old money, the kind of woman who referred to flying commercial as cattle class. From the moment she learned her son was dating the coffee girl, she made it her mission to oust me from the Anderson narrative. "Darling," she'd purr to David, eyes flicking past me like I was invisible. "Did you know the Rothschild girl is back from Paris? Still unattached, I believe." David ignored her snobbery and married me anyway. We kept things simple, just a modest ceremony, surrounded by people we loved. Ilana called it embarrassingly quaint. For the next 3 years, I endured her backhanded compliments and weaponized politeness at every family function. "Oh, Lisa, that dress is so practical. Did you get it at Target?" And the classic, "It must be such a relief not to have to work anymore," though I'm sure making lattes was very character building. What Ilana never knew, what no one in the Anderson family knew, was that while I was pulling espresso shots and writing research papers, I was also quietly building a crypto portfolio that had ballooned into a fortune, a private jet kind of fortune. David knew, but we agreed to keep it under wraps. I didn't need the spotlight and certainly not Ilana's validation. Then came the Anderson family's annual vacation. Every year, Ilana handpicked the location, curated every detail, and used the event to remind everyone who held the purse strings. This year's planning dinner was hosted at her mansion, dripping in crystal and smugness. As the family gathered around her palatial dining table, she delivered her grand announcement with theatric flair. "This year," she said, practically preening, "I've outdone myself. We'll be spending 2 weeks at the Royal Pearl Island Resort Ice. The entire island is ours. Private chefs, chartered helicopters, our own stretch of beach, only the finest for the Andersons." A chorus of impressed guests followed. The Royal Pearl was the luxury destination in the Maldives booked out years in advance. Then she turned her gaze toward me, the familiar condescension already curling at the corners of her mouth. "Now, about the guest list. Given the exclusive nature of this retreat, we need to be mindful of maintaining a certain standard." I didn't even need to hear the rest. I already knew. "Lisa, darling," she said with saccharine insincerity, "perhaps it's best if you sit this one out. These environments can be a bit much for someone of simpler roots." David bristled, his jaw tight. "If Lisa's not invited, I'm not going either," David said firmly. Ilana's expression soured. "Don't be absurd, David. The entire family's attending. Your cousins are flying in from Europe. You're not seriously skipping it just because your wife isn't comfortable in luxury." Charlotte chimed in with her usual smugness. "Mother's right." Lisa looked completely lost at the yacht club last summer. It was painful. I placed a hand on David's arm, offering a small smile. "It's okay. You should go. Be with your family." Across the table, Ilana's lips curved into a satisfied smile. She thought she'd won again. But she had no idea the real game had already begun 6 months ago, to be exact. Back then, I'd overheard Ilana casually bragging about her plans to rent out Royal Pearl Island for the family's next getaway. Curious, I did a little digging. Turns out, the resort was on shaky financial ground, and the owner was quietly entertaining offers through a discreet web of shell companies. I made mine and acquired not just the resort, but the entire island. I left the original management in place, gave strict instructions to keep things running as usual, and waited. The next morning, as the Andersons boarded their private jet to the Maldives, I sat in my home office, coffee in hand, watching the resort security feeds. Time to set face to emotion. They thought they were flying to paradise. They had no idea they were flying into my paradise. Hours later, the Andersons arrived on the island. Eleanor, resplendent in her flowing designer cover-up and oversized sunglasses, led the way like a conquering queen. She was already imagining the envy-inducing posts she'd share with her high society friends. At the dock, James, the resort manager, greeted them with a professional smile. "Welcome to Royal Pearl Island. We've been expecting you." Eleanor gave a gracious nod. "It's lovely. I assume the presidential villa is prepared." James consulted his tablet. There's been a slight change. The presidential villa is currently occupied by the owner." Eleanor blinked. "That's impossible. I booked the entire island. No one else should be here." James remained calm. "The owner isn't a guest, Mrs. Anderson. As the proprietor, they have overriding authority on all bookings." Her voice sharpened. "Then I demand to speak to them immediately." "Of course," James said smoothly. "Please follow me to the main pavilion. The owner has prepared a special welcome." The family followed him down a path lined with palms. Arriving at an open-air pavilion overlooking the turquoise sea, a massive screen flickered to life. My face appeared. From my home office, I watched Eleanor's expression shift from confusion to horror. "Hello, Anderson family," my recorded self said cheerfully. "Welcome to my island." Gasps. Silence. "Yes, you heard correctly. I own Royal Pearl Island Resort, and a few other properties around the world, but let's not get ahead of ourselves." David Triton failed to hide his smirk. He'd known this was coming. "While you were busy judging me for pouring lattes and shopping at department stores, I was building a global portfolio. That coffee girl you dismissed, she's now wealthier than the entire Anderson estate." Eleanor staggered back and collapsed into a chair, her handbag slipping unnoticed from her lap. Charlotte looked like she was about to be sick. "But don't worry," my recorded voice continued with a polite smile. "Accommodations have been arranged. Eleanor, you'll be staying in our economy villa. It's, say, a perfect reminder that humility is a luxury to few indulge in. The rest of the family can choose from our standard suites." "This is outrageous," Eleanor shrieked. From the feed, I saw James raise a brow, calm as ever. "Actually, it's policy. The owner's discretion is final." I leaned back in my chair and sipped my coffee. Sometimes, karma doesn't knock. It books the island out from under you. "I paid for the presidential villa," Eleanor snapped. James, unbothered, replied smoothly. "Your deposit has been refunded. The owner's decision is final." The video continued to play. "Oh, and Eleanor," my recorded self added with a pleasant smile. "Remember when you said luxury resorts might be overwhelming for someone of my background? Let's put that theory to the test. You'll be working as a server at the beach bar during your stay. Think of it as a hands-on lesson in humility." Eleanor's face twisted in disbelief. "I will not. Do you know who I am?" James didn't flinch. "Yes, ma'am. You're the mother-in-law of our owner, who left strict instructions. You're welcome to decline. Of course, but the next flight off the island isn't for 3 days." Chaos followed. Eleanor raged, threatened lawsuits, and demanded her phone, which, strangely, had no signal. She tried to charter a helicopter, all unavailable. By design, my design. For the next 2 weeks, the indomitable Eleanor Anderson served mojitos and my tea to her own relatives in the sweltering sun. Her trademark designer wear was replaced by a crisp staff uniform, the same one she'd once scoffed at, and right above her chest pocket, a name tag that read in bold letters, "Eleanor, trainee." But this isn't just a tale of revenge, it's a story about transformation. On their final day, I flew in to visit the island in person. I found her behind the bar, hair frizz from the humidity, posture slumped with fatigue. She looked up and saw me take a seat. "Enjoying yourself?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Her defiance was gone. What remained was something softer, worn down. "Why did you do all this?" she asked, voice low. "Because you needed to learn," I said gently, "that worth isn't determined by wealth, or pedigree, or who your friends are. Every person who's ever served you, cleaned your room, or carried your luggage. They matter. You just never looked close enough to see it. Her eyes filled with tears. I never thought about it that way. I know, I said, that was the problem. And from that moment, something in Alanna shifted. When she returned home, she wasn't the same. She founded a scholarship program for service workers to continue their education. She volunteered, not just to write checks, but to show up, really see people. And she never again made anyone feel small for the work they did. At family dinners now, Alanna chats with the staff. She asks about their lives, their dreams. She remembers names. Last Christmas, she insisted on serving the meal herself, saying it reminded her of what really mattered. As for Royal Pearl, still mine, but now, the resort hosts a new program, a voluntary immersion experience, for the ultra-wealthy to spend a week working in service roles. Alanna helps run it. She shares her story freely, as a warning about pride and the quiet power of empathy. David and I still visit the cafe where we first met. We sit by the window, sipping coffee, watching people come and go. Sometimes, Alanna joins us. She talks with the baristas like old friends. She gets it now. Last week, she gave me a gift, a hand-bound photo album filled with snapshots from that island vacation. On the last page, written in her elegant script, "Thank you for teaching me that the best view in life comes from stepping off your high horse." I keep that album in my office at the resort. A reminder that the finest luxury in life isn't found in five-star villas or first-class flights. It's found in the ability to see the value in every soul you meet. And Alanna, she still works one shift a month at the beach bar. She says it keeps her grounded.